It's the Tapply team. All right. It's good. So let me introduce everybody. And Musa's here with me because it was just far easier for us to do it this way. So as a parent of a past student of Marcus, you're here today. Thank you to talk about why you chose Tapply Binet in the first place, and how Marcus did during his time here, and now that he's 2 years out, what is he up to? And we can get some insights as to how Tapply Binet kind of helped get Marcus going. And we have Andrew Levecki here with us today. He's a staff member. I think it's important to have a staff member part of the team. It's what it's all about. I mean, certainly the staff are as important as the parents, as are the students. And there's Musa. We've got Musa Alechi here today with us, also an alumni. So we have current Andrew Levecki, current me, Sue Davidson, principal, owner, and away we go. All right. So I do want to do a bit of an introduction. So bear with me on this piece because I think it's important. Tapply Binet, as you guys will espouse, is a very unique school. So a little bit of background. Tapply Binet College, affectionately called Tapply, or TBC for short, has been in Ancaster, Ontario for 24 years. It started, I started the school in 1997 to meet the needs of the individual student. My background prior had a guidance working in the public system with my principal's papers. The system, to my mind, is backwards. They put educators first. We put students first. It's the way it should be. So we put students first. The student and their families are our clients and our friends. They are the ones that drive what we as educators teach. So in our location, a historic century home, the Tapply team enjoys empowering young people to accept responsibility for their successes, for their program, and ultimately for their post-secondary plans. The staff here are specialists in their area. I'm proud to say I'm among very bright educators. The students are among very bright educators. More than just knowing their subject. They care about the students. They care to teach the students. So that's my setup, my introduction. And I'm going to turn to Nick first because he's a working man and he's at work today, so he has other things to do. Mr. Levecki is also at work today, but he's teaching, and so he's in his environment. Yes, even in August. That makes one more thing unique about Tapply Binet. We are at work. He's teaching English. I think his student is still en route. So, yeah. And that happens as well. So we'll go with Mr. Richter first, talking about why. Let's start with, what did you appreciate most about the school during the time that your son was here?
I think that what we appreciated the most was that the school was small and that it was very flexible. So when we were looking for a school for Marcus, he had been in a private school that was Montessori based through grade 8, and it was smaller. And so we looked at some of the local public schools, both in the public board and the Catholic board, including some alternative schools. And we visited some schools and talked to the staff there, but they were all too big. He said, I like small. And so we were looking for a smaller school, and his grade 8 teacher had suggested we check out Tapply Binet, or TBC as Marcus likes to call it. And so we met with you, Sue, first just the parents, and then Marcus joined us for another meeting. And then he attended some classes on a day just to visit. And after that, he was totally sold and wanted to come. And so for us, he was really looking for small. As parents, we were concerned that if he went to a really big school, like some of the schools we were looking at had like 1,200, 1,600, 1,800 students, we were afraid he would sort of sit in the back and fall through the cracks very quietly, nobody would notice. And so at TBC, where, you know, in most of his classes, he only had 3 or 4 students. And you may recall, Sue, that in math class, when he started, it was sometimes just the 2 of you, because math was something that he just had a mental block about when he started grade 9. And you got him through academic math. I'm sure with some struggles, but you know, that was something.
I think we both had tears at times. Yeah,
I'm sure. But that was something that he would not have been able to do in a public school. So for us, the size was really important, and also the incredible flexibility as far as being able to be very flexible about when he took which courses and how long he took to get things done. And it was just a very flexible arrangement. For example, I think in grade 10, he took grade 12 biology. He got to take it early, which he really enjoyed because he was really interested in biology. And so there was just a lot of flexibility, and that was really what he needed and what he was looking for. And so that met his needs as a student and also our needs as parents.
Great. Yes. Yes. And you know, that math piece is so significant because it's a core subject. It's important for the students to gain some confidence in their math ability. And for Marcus, he didn't come here with any, like, his track record up to this point had been, I hate math, I'm not good at it. And so with that time with him, and it took a lot of time, but he comes to, like, wow, he leaves here with a grade 12 university level math course.
Yes, he was pushed too early, too hard in math in the public schools. And the public schools, I remember his grade 1 teacher saying, the ministry says we have to put your son in a box. And she was very honest. And she said, Marcus doesn't fit in the box, and that causes a problem for me. And she said, you know, there's very limited flexibility as to what we can do. We have to put him through this box, and, you know, 95% of the students fit and 5% of the students don't fit in the box. Your son is very smart, but he doesn't follow any traditional path. And so, you know, this is causing a difficulty. So after grade 2, we pulled him out of public schools and put him in a Montessori-based system that was more flexible. And so TBC provided a more flexible sort of continuation. But math is a perfect example. He finished, you know, doing an academic grade 12 math course. But when he entered, he had a complete mental block about math. And, you know, I think without the one-on-one that he had with you and the subsequent math courses he took, it would have been a real struggle for him in the public schools. Because he would have fallen through the cracks. He would have sat quietly in the back and fallen through the cracks.
And sitting quietly, that takes me to another point. I mean, one of the things that we saw over time with Marcus was how he grew into being a very attentive and alert and, you know, questioning student, like thoroughly engaged in the lessons. I mean, if you taught Marcus, you had to be on top of your game because he was going to, you know, he was so inquisitive. He just wanted to know everything. And he was here every day. He was early, you know, he did his homework, all of it. Moose is kind of going, oh, wow. Yeah, I remember sitting beside him, but he did his homework. It was a beautiful thing. So to see him mature over the years was really, really something. So by the time he was ready to leave here, when Marcus graduated Tapply Binet, he was very prepared for his next step. So, and Nick, instead of following the questions I'm looking at here, I'd rather, in Tapply typical form, personalize it to Marcus's experience. What did Tapply Binet do for him that enabled him to make that monster leap to a university program at Lakehead University?
Well, I would say you've touched on part of it already, which is that TBC really helped him to build his confidence. When he arrived, you may recall, Sue, when we were looking at schools, and on the second meeting we had where we brought Marcus with us, he was not brimming with confidence, shall we say. And when he left TBC, he had a lot of confidence. He'd really grown and developed both academically and emotionally, and was ready for university. So I think there are two things. He got the academic skills he needed for university, but he also developed self-confidence, and that enabled him to make the transition to Lakehead, where he went for his post-secondary.
Yeah, great. If you could put it in Marcus's words, what would Marcus say about his experience at Tapply Binet?
Oh, it's hard for me to.
Yeah, I know. And maybe that's a question we ask Musa, as a student, how that works. I just wondered if we could maybe capture his sense of what this place was for him.
Well, he loved his classmates. It was an incredibly interesting group of students. He loved his teachers. He had wonderful teachers who were all really interested in their subject matter and who, pushed him hard when they had to. I'm thinking especially of his biology teacher, Jody. What was her last name?
Miss Panday.
Panday. She pushed him hard, and sometimes he pushed back and he resented it, but she made him a much better student. And so, he really liked that. He enjoyed all of his teachers at Tapply Binet. So I think that, those were the things he valued. The other thing I think he really valued was the building. It has lots of nooks and crannies, lots of great places where you can sit between classes and do your work. If you want to socialize, there's sort of a common room where you can socialize with your friends. I think one year he sort of moved into a closet. That was where he did his study.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. He did do that.
And so, I think he appreciated the building as well and the premises. It's quite a beautiful location and a beautiful farmhouse, but within walking distance of places to eat and stuff like that. So I think he sort of appreciated the whole package there.
Yeah, good. Thank you.
It'd be good to hear what Musa thinks on this.
Yes, and you know what? So I'm going to maybe switch to Musa now, and Andrew, if that's okay, if we do that, okay. So Musa, if you could maybe pick up on that conversation about what is it about this place that in comparison to others, or just in its own right? Like, so I'm gonna push it over here to you. Get all comfortable. Like, get comfortable. Don't. Yeah.
The number one thing I really liked about Tapply Binet was how student focused it was. I used to go to a Catholic high school in Hamilton with about 1,500 students, and as Mr. Richter was saying, I was falling through the cracks. My marks were at the bottom. I was not focused in class. I was skipping class. I was unattentive. I had bad work ethic. And I came to Tapply Binet through my brother. He enrolled me here after doing some homework, and he thought that a small school is exactly what I needed to succeed. And I came here, I was doubtful. I didn't think I would be able to make it to university. And that was my goal and my parents' goal for myself. And we had a sit down and we had a conversation with Miss Sue Davidson. And the year flew by. I had amazing classmates. I had an amazing experience. I had good grades, and most importantly, I left with a great work ethic. I felt fully prepared to enter university, and even through my experience in university right now, I'm cruising. I find it very easy. It's easy for me to work. I can focus, and my grades speak for that. Yeah.
That's great. So I wanted to just kind of build on that, and that's all very positive, and it just makes me proud to hear it, Musa. It does. Having Musa here for only 1 year, as he said, it was very fast. And we said to him, you can accomplish this, but you're going to have to really work hard. And you know, he was still doing his like old habits initially, and it's like, no, but all the staff were committed to holding him accountable. And we also brought the family in. And that made it good. You know, like all parts are working to the same end. It's like getting him here, getting him on time, getting him to do the work, never mind all the blah, 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 talking about things, because he can certainly talk his way out of anything. But it's like, no more talking. Just go sit in a room and get some work done.
It was a very successful and beautiful system you guys have set up here. Very successful.
Yeah, good. I mean, all the teachers are different. We have different styles, and you know, Mr. Lavecchio speak to his different than mine, different than Miss Pande's, or you know, whoever we have, and now we have some new staff. But at the end of the day, we're working, we're meeting all the time, talking about how can we make that student success here better. And that, to my mind, is one of the most significant pieces. And it's even, you know, Musa would be in the meeting with parents and teachers. That's when it really works. That's that piece of the empowerment. And then he really wanted it. And, you know, I think at the beginning, like your mom was saying, it's McMaster, it's McMaster. And that was it. That's all you're going to McMaster University. But over time, it seemed that Laurier Brantford was a better place for Musa. It's like, it's just not that big institution. More like Tapply Binet, it's small and it's going to be a better experience for you. You're going to have that personal contact with your professors. And I think that's going to be better for you. And I think you're saying it truly was.
It was a very successful year, and I would highly recommend it to friends and family. I mean, just the amazing staff themselves. I mean, when you meet them, you can't wait to start learning.
Yeah, see, can't say anything more than that, right? Yeah, that's great. What, you know, when you say that you would make referrals to friends and to family, can you tell me what you would be saying to them when you're saying, you know, you should get in touch with Sue Davidson at Tapply?
If they want a student based, welcoming, inclusive school, I would say this is the school to be at. I mean, with a small amount of students and a small amount of staff, it makes it very, very student focused, and it truly pushes the student to only give his best work and succeed, which is most important when attending a high school.
Yeah, great, wonderful, thank you.
There's one other thing I was going to add, Sue, just it's a point you touched on, but I think it's important, and that is that unlike a large public school, for example, or even a large private school, parents are really an important part of their children's education at Tapply Binet. So you mentioned the parent meetings that Musa had, and his parents were there, and Musa was there. You know, we had parent meetings with Marcus as well. And those were really great opportunities to sit down with Marcus and his teachers and with you, and to sort of look at where he had been, look at some samples of his work, map out what courses would interest him, and how things would look going forward. And so it was always very helpful we always had, I think, sort of a plan, looking several semesters ahead as to what courses we thought he might be heading toward in the future. And then it was very flexible as far as making adjustments as we went. And the other thing I would say is that, you know, even though parents don't dictate what happens, they do have a fair bit of input. I remember once we were planning a trip out of the country and had to come back after Labor Day, and all the flights on Labor Day were booked. And I wrote you an email and said, when is school starting? Because I'm having trouble getting a flight back. And your response was, when would you like it to start? And so I had the opportunity to fly back the day after Labor Day when I got a flight when we started school the next day. I don't know if that was already the plan, but it was a good example of how in a smaller school you can be quite responsive to parents. I think one year also we started, somebody wanted to start school at 8:30, and we tried it for a year, but it was a nightmare traffic wise, so we went back to 9 o'clock. So in a large school, parents don't have input into what time school starts.
Yeah, they don't. And just on that note, when I say about input from parents, it is that large. I mean, when I talk about stakeholders, you're the one that's writing the check. It's expensive. So of course, what you have to say about it is important. It's relevant. And I mean, that's Marcus, he's your baby. Like you want what's best for him. And I'm saying, absolutely, you're part of this conversation. You're part of the plan. So again, thank you. Andrew, I'm going to catch you before you get busy. And I think what I would like to do, because we did say we didn't want to take too long, and we're going on longer than we thought, but I don't want to shortchange you. I think what's important for people out there that are looking at a school is to say, how is it different? So from a teacher perspective, how is Tapply different than the public system?
Yeah, so like the one thing I've found especially is just with the small class sizes, I'm able to tailor the content to fit the needs of the students more closely than you'd be able to with a larger class of even like 20 students would be, that would be more difficult. So in this past year, for the English courses, I would find out what students were interested in, and then sort of build the curriculum around those interests and still hit all of the curriculum strands, but with texts that would get the students motivated. So in my one English class, we just read The Hobbit and then The Lord of the Rings because they were really into The Hobbit. And then those boys read, I think, way more than they'd ever read before in their lives because they were just so motivated by those texts. And in a larger class, I would have to divide what we were reading according to way more interests, because the more students you have, the more diverse backgrounds and interests you have. But that class was only 3 boys, and they all loved The Hobbit. And that's kind of just like one example of like the fine tuning and the tailoring, like exactly for the students that you can do when you only have like a maximum of like 5 or 6 students in a class. You can really kind of get to know each student and what interests them, and then build the course content around their personalities, really.
That's great. Another piece maybe you could speak to, I'm thinking of some of the experiences that you had in the past year. As we always teach to the academic level, we're always putting the students in the 3U, the 4U. We want to maximize their ability. What happens, Andrew, when those expectations are maybe more than what that student can deliver? How did you handle that?
So yeah, in those cases, we could, because the classes again are so flexible, we could, if a student is struggling to reach, say, the 4U level, then I could accommodate making the assignments for that student more at the 4C level, and still have them in the class with their peers, but doing a slightly different workload. And then, so a number of the classes this past year were a split between like academic and applied or university and college. And I found that works well, again, with the numbers, that you can sort of have each student almost at their own level, and I could still meet all of those challenges for each student.
Thank you. I know because parents will often ask, with such small numbers that we have at Tapply Binet, how on earth can we manage to deliver a curriculum for every grade level? And I say we essentially have the juniors and we have the seniors, and we're able to do that in the small classes. Like I'm thinking of the student that was in grade 8 that ended up finishing with how many? He ended up with 6 grade 9 courses. And it was the appropriate thing in conversations with parents. It made sense for him to move ahead. Yeah. And you taught him like probably 4 of those 6.
Yeah.
That's the other nice thing. You really get to know them.
You
right?
do. Yeah.
In a small setting. And so you don't just teach them once and never see them again. Maybe you get to see them again later, but no, you get to see them every day for their entire duration here.
Yeah. And that was one of the things I found with the juniors, especially because I had them for 3 out of 4 classes last semester. It was like the conversations we'd be having in history would carry over to learning strategies and to geography. And so there's kind of like a cumulative like familiarity with the students and me, and then among the students as well. And so they got very comfortable just discussing fairly controversial things at times. And they were very comfortable as well if they didn't understand something, they would just say like, I don't understand this. And it was kind of a friendly enough environment that we could all just laugh and then explain the concept. But there wasn't like I think in a larger classroom you'd be more afraid to say like, hey, I don't know where north is. That like you're gonna be quieter about that, but then you may never learn where north is. Whereas in this classroom, one of my students actually did say that, and then we all laughed, and then I explained it, and now he knows how to find north. So yeah, that was just one of the examples of like the of how they just got very comfortable and very competitive as well in a friendly way, and they would push each other to be better students and really get a strong grasp on the material.
Those 3 boys that you had in the junior classes adored you, and you know what? They're over top of each other trying to get to class, and I know that because I watched it. And it wasn't to get to their favorite seat or whatever. It was just scrambling to get in there, and you couldn't keep them back. They were on time every single day, and they were attendance 100%. Now, their work ethic, you developed a work ethic for grade 9 students that blew me away. And it sets them up for success throughout high school. Often we have students that are coming in, like as Musa said, that didn't have the work ethic, that didn't have good work habits. And he worked hard in 1 year and managed to get it. But how nice is it when we can start them in grade 9 and help them throughout, and it just is easier for them if we can establish those good habits early on in their high school career. Yeah, so you did a great job. So that was amazing.
Thank you.
God, this is so much fun. See, this is where it's hard for me to stop because I love this conversation. Of course I do. So I'm gonna stop myself from adding my 2 cents and leave it with, are we finished? Do we feel good about everything that we've said? I know that we're all committed to Tapply Binet and are enjoying the experience. Is there something that you want does anybody want to add another thing before we sign off? Yeah, I think we're done. Musa, you're good?
That's it.
Okay, we're all done. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Sue.
Okay, bye,
Yeah.
Nick.
Bye.
Say hi to Marcus.
Will do.
Thank you, Andrew.
Bye.